Hi there, my name is Carissa with Reformed Acres, and this week I thought that I would take you along on a pretty typical morning routine, a weekday morning routine for us here on the homestead. I am a mom of three boys, 5 and under, and I'm currently pregnant with my fourth son. And we homestead here in Florida on a little over 2 acres. We've got meat rabbits, egg layers, meat chickens, a garden, the whole thing. So I'm going to take you along for that this morning. Now, the very first thing that I do when I get up is I get my cup of coffee going. And then this morning I had some cloth diapers to clear off the couch. But every morning it's my goal to get up, sit in the dark, as you will see, and just drink my coffee, read my Bible, read some of my book, do the grocery list, maybe work on something for Instagram or YouTube or whatever, but have some time by myself to just really get ready for the day. One of the things that has been really helpful for me as a mom is giving my kids a set time to come out of their room. So they can be awake before that time, but they do not come out until 7:30. So they're reading books, they're hanging out, and then when they come out, breakfast is on the table and it's ready for them. This is so helpful. I know when they're going to be there. I can greet them with a smile. And this morning we are having yogurt, just like always, homemade yogurt, and I'm getting some of our reading done for school. So my son is currently going through kindergarten work. We follow a more Charlotte Mason style. We're doing Ambleside online. So we've got some fairy tales to read this morning during breakfast. It's a good way to hold their attention because they're busy eating breakfast. Might as well sit here and read a story. So that's how we're starting this day. And then it's time to just get everything cleaned up from breakfast. I love this yogurt strainer. So if you make homemade yogurt and you have a problem with the yogurt being really thin and maybe not the texture you want, you got to get yourself a yogurt strainer. It makes things so delicious, really gets it to that Greek yogurt texture. So we're going to get that back in the fridge, get this mess cleaned up, and then move on from there. And we're just going to go ahead and jump into a little bit more bookwork. I like to get the core subjects of math, language arts, I like to get those out of the way as early as I can. Just sets us up for success. And one of the things that I do is I do not lesson plan. So I have a schedule that I follow with Ambleside Online and our Good and the Beautiful curriculum, but I don't lesson plan ahead of time. I just write down what we got done, and it really keeps me from feeling overwhelmed or like we're falling behind or anything like that. So if you ever feel that way, I highly recommend it. Now, while my son is getting set up with some independent work, it is time for coffee number 2. And all of this is happening really shortly after breakfast. So I kind of just try to move into the next thing as quickly as possible, keep us moving so the kids always know what's coming. There's not a lot of downtime during this time because we're really trying to be as efficient as possible before I send them outside to play. So I get my littlest one cleaned up so that he can run around with my middle and they can destroy the house. And that is honestly how I deal with getting homeschool done when the other two aren't doing school. I just let them run around, independently play, and as long as everybody is relatively happy, playing relatively nicely, and it's not so much chaos that my older one can't focus, that's fine by me. I think that it is good to have times when he's got complete quiet and can really focus, especially when we're doing our readings in the afternoon and he's narrating that back to me. Having that quiet time for him is really good. But I also think it's good to learn how to focus when there's distractions. And so we got my middle a coloring page. Eventually he moved on to magnets, and this is all happening right next to my guy while we're doing school. We're all just making this work as a family. Eventually it is nap time for the little guy, which does signal a change for us. So we're going to move from bookwork to getting outside, letting the guys play while he naps, and me starting to get some homestead chores done because it's much easier to do without my little one running after us and getting mad that we're walking faster than he can. So at this point, I am going to work on getting dishes done while they clean up a little bit and get ready to go outside. I recognize and am fully aware how much of a blessing it is to have an outdoor space that is large and fenced where my kids can just roam. It really does make my job as a mom a lot easier because especially with boys, there is so much sweet, wild energy, and to be able to send them outside, direct that energy to something more fun for them it's a huge blessing. So at this point, this is where we're at with the kitchen. The kitchen looks great, but the table is still a mess from homeschool, and that is pretty standard for us. But it doesn't matter because this is the time that we have to do the chores, and so that stuff has to wait. So the first thing that I'm going to do is let our egg layers out to free range. We have them in this chicken tractor because it makes cleaning the tractor so much easier. I never have to worry about cleaning the coop. I just refresh nesting boxes, make sure those are clean, but the rest of the time, if the coop is dirty, I just move it forward. Having a chicken coop that was easy to clean was very important to me when designing this chicken tractor. So we do have the plans for how to build this exact tractor available, and I will go ahead and link them below. But next is time to feed the egg layers. I totally didn't mean to scare them, but of course, it happens. Right now we're using our extra feeder for our meat birds, so I'm just throwing feed on the ground, which to be honest, they love, and that's what we did when we first started with the egg layers. So I'm just getting them fed, and then it's time to move on to the meat birds. And you can see here how I moved the tractor. We've got this awesome wheel system on the back, and it makes it really easy to move and to turn and to make sure that they are getting on fresh grass. One of the things that I have to do is throw some food in the back before I bring the food around the front to distract them so that they're not all coming at me at the same time. But you can see them here. They're starting to get big. We will be processing them very soon. This is our last batch of the year, and every time I come in, I try to listen for my little guy. Is he still napping? Is he fighting his nap? And on this day, he was fighting it. So there wasn't going to be any gardening this morning. It was just going back to mom mode. And this is honestly about 30 minutes after I had gone out originally. So there's just not a lot of time to be outside in the morning some days, depending on how he naps. But this morning it was actually kind of cold, and I knew I needed to, get hydrated, stay hydrated, but I did not want water. So I'm going to go ahead and heat up a mug of some bone broth from our half beef that we bought. It's just so delicious, and it's a great way to warm up. So that's what I'm doing. And he is still not happy. So yeah, you're lucky that you can't hear the audio, and I'm just trying to keep him happy at this point. My big boys are still playing outside, which is a huge blessing, and I figure it's about time to just start on lunch and get that going. So at this point, it's around 11 o'clock. It's getting close to it. And even though we just ate breakfast, my kids love to eat yogurt, and they eat it almost every day. And it's just not really filling as much as they love it. And it's good for them. It's not going to keep them full super long. So one of the things that I like to do is just get lunch ready a little bit earlier. So we normally eat lunch around 11, 11:30. And today I'm making a variation of one of our staples. So we love to make rice and either sausage or eggs, scrambled eggs, something like that when we don't have leftovers. And we just mix them together, add whatever seasonings you want, like soy sauce or cheese, and it's actually really delicious. Now, when I tell people that I do that and we use white rice, so white rice and scrambled eggs or sausage, a lot of people don't seem to think that that sounds super appetizing, but the trick to white rice is to add whatever liquid ratio you need, whatever amount of liquid that you need for the amount of rice that you're putting in. But then for every cup of rice, you need to add 1 teaspoon of salt. And then if you're not using a bone broth or something that has fat already in it, go ahead and add about a tablespoon of oil. And that's going to keep your rice from sticking together. And I'm telling you, that teaspoon of salt per cup of rice, per dry cup of rice, it's going to make your rice taste wonderful every single time. It's so ridiculous how good it is. And so that's what we did on this day. We just had some rice. I cooked up some sausage, added some blueberries. I've got one that doesn't love blueberries, so I added some string cheese. And then to top this off, I am going to take some of our home canned cranberry juice and have that on the side. My husband's home from work this day, so I thought that that would be a little bit more fun than just water or milk or whatever. And canned cranberry juice is so incredibly easy to make. I've seen tons of videos on Instagram and on YouTube, so I'm sure you can find one if you look, but it's so easy to make and it's so delicious. Now I am going to take my fork and get all of the juice out of this mixture because you don't want to miss any of it. And then I'm actually going to save these cranberries. And what we did, since I filmed this a little while ago, was I heated these cranberries on the stove with a little bit of lemon juice and a little bit of sugar and kind of made it into a compote. And we put this on top of a cheesecake that I made, and it was so good. So don't get rid of those cranberries cranberries when you're done with the juice. I'm adding a little bit of water just to dilute it because it is so tart. And then this is what the lunch looks like. I know that it looks so simple, but honestly, that's some of the best meals. And when you're making lunch and you're making dinner and you're making breakfast and all of that from scratch at home, a good simple meal that you know everybody's going to like, that's a winner in my book. Thank you for spending the morning with us. I hope that you enjoyed it. Coming up soon, we'll be having a bread making day and talking about our system for chicken processing. So make sure that you stick around for that. And I hope that you're having a great day.